am very happy to introduce your photography works to our audience. Only then I'm not sure if I can still call it photography.
If somebody asks me, Thomas, are you an artist or are you a photographer? I always tell people I studied on an art academy, so I'm an educated artist. Before I came to the art academy in Düsseldorf, I was a kind of an amateur. My teacher, Becher, told us that we should capture reality. I had to realize that probably all the works that I did before is kitsch. They are not my own images, but probably images that I saw in magazines with a new kind of knowledge about photography. And yes, I've started very carefully taking photographs in my apartment. At that time, I would say my first artistic photograph showed up. It was a photograph of the sink in my bathroom with a kind of op art wallpaper. I tried to do that as precise as possible. I really wanted to try to reduce all things from traditional photography to bring the portrait back to point zero. I was the person who chose the sitter. Could you go slightly up, to the left, to the right? The camera was still recording the reality that was in front of it, but I was the person who was controlling everything. This kind of photography capturing reality is only half true, because it can also be pre-arranged reality. My generation had read George Orwell's 1984, and we were very curious how the year 1984 will look like. So it's me and my generation looking back into Big Brother's camera. So probably the first abstract image I made of the starry night sky. So it's just a black back, and then you have a kind of composition with the stars. Maybe the second abstract works are the substrates, those kind of psychedelic color fields. Even the sources for those images were no photographs but Japanese mangas. The cycles are created with a 3D software. So I used mathematic formulas to create the curves and the shapes. The only photographic part is I had a kind of camera that I could go through this 3D object and then shooting images of this 3D object. In terms of the photographs, I realized that this kind of old-fashioned analog black and white darkroom technique is not enough to create the images I want to create. I really had the idea of trying to create a contemporary state-of-the-art photogram, and that's why I then developed the idea of creating or building my own darkroom as a virtual darkroom. Using 3D software, I could use materials that don't exist in reality. When I put on the light, I could use colored light, and so then I could do colored photographs, which was not possible in the 1920s. That's probably part of the practice of an artist. If the technique does not exist, you have to invent it. A lot of people said, Thomas, why now you shift to this, and then after that you shift to this. And what have all the things in common? Now, maybe after 30 years of practicing this, I can say maybe it's the puzzle of the grammar of photography, and every series is a part of the puzzle. An artist nowadays should have the possibility to use all the different techniques, either using the pencil, using the brush, using the camera, using the film, using 3D software, whatever. So it doesn't depend on the technology or the technique. What really counts is the artwork. And if that is good, everything is good.